this first episode of From the Shadow to the Light, we dive into Chapter 1 of my book, Struck by Lightning, where I introduce you to Little Miss Extrovert, the curious, energetic, and eager version of myself that laid the foundation for much of my journey. Little Miss Extrovert wasn't just a persona. She was a reflection of my longing for connection and validation. As a young child, I thrived on attention and interaction, always seeking to be the center of activity. My boundless curiosity and energy led me to fearlessly explore the world around me. Yet, beneath that playful exterior, deeper layers of my archetypes began to stir. In this episode, we'll explore how key archetypes like the addict, student, and athlete awakened early on, shaping my behavior and beliefs. You'll hear how a simple moment of betrayal from my father during a playful game planted a seed of distrust that influenced my relationships for years. We'll also uncover how innocent childhood experiences, like my fascination with learning and competition, carried hidden meanings that later revealed strengths and struggles. I invite you to reflect on your life as you listen. What roles were assigned to you in childhood, and how have they influenced your journey so far? Without further ado, let's dive in and begin this journey of discovery together as we peel back the layers of Little Miss Extrovert and uncover the hidden truths that shaped my early years. Born a pickle, the origin of my addict archetype. When I was born, I wasn't a blank canvas waiting to be painted. In a sense, I was already a pickle. By that, I mean I wasn't starting life as a fresh cucumber with infinite possibilities. Instead, I came into the world carrying traits and patterns deeply rooted in the addict archetype. It wasn't something I picked up along the way. It was part of my foundation from birth. My father was a man with charm and a playful nature. My mother embodied stability, but often remained in the background, following the expectations of a 1960s homemaker. My older brother, Donnie, inherited my mother's intellect, while I embodied my father's outgoing personality. Our home in Rolling Hills became the stage where my curiosity, need for attention, and longing for validation played out. I wanted to be noticed, feel significant, and prove I was enough. I didn't realize it then, but I was already living out the addict's dynamic, the light side being my thirst for learning and exploration, and the shadow side being my relentless need for more. Whether it was more approval from my parents or more excitement in play, that yearning became the undercurrent of my childhood. I sought external validation like it was the air I breathed. This wasn't limited to material things. It was about feeling like I mattered. And because the addict archetype was so deeply ingrained, I carried that need into every stage of life, even when I didn't consciously recognize it. My early years laid the groundwork for the challenges and growth that would come, both the moments of strength and the times when I felt utterly lost. But there's a deeper layer to my story, the concept of archetype. In the chart of origin, inspired by Carolyn Mace's Sacred Contracts, my addict archetype found its place in the first house, which relates to ego and personality. The archetype here is crucial because it shapes our identity and the persona we present to the world. The addict takes center stage in my life and plays a significant role in my journey of self-discovery. As we navigate the archetypal experience, we'll understand why the addict is pivotal to my story, both in its light and shadow aspects. Can you think of any early patterns or behaviors you had as a child that followed you into adulthood? Were you ever aware of needing to prove your worth to others as a child? How did it shape your actions or decisions? How has your family's dynamic influenced the roles in your life, both positively and negatively? Trust and Betrayal, a childhood experiment with lasting consequences. I believe trust came naturally when I was a child, especially between a child and a parent. With his playful charm, my father often engaged me in games and experiments. One day, he introduced a seemingly innocent game that would unknowingly alter my perception of trust forever. He held up a banana and called it a donut, then pointed to a donut and said it was a banana. It was a playful exercise, and I giggled, thinking it was a harmless joke. I trusted him implicitly. Why wouldn't I? He was my father. But the joke didn't end that day. A few days later, during a visit to my aunt's house, I confidently asked for a donut, pointing to a banana in her fruit basket. Confused, my aunt looked at me and said, "That's a banana, not a donut." My cheeks flushed with embarrassment. In that moment, my innocent trust cracked. I felt betrayed, even though I didn't fully understand why at the time. It wasn't just about the banana or the joke. It was about the more profound realization that what I believed to be true could be questioned. The moment seemed trivial to anyone else, but for me, it was the beginning of a belief that would haunt me for decades. I don't trust men. This belief remained buried for years, manifesting subtly in my relationships. Even when I thought I trusted someone, there was always a lingering doubt. It wasn't until I explored this moment in depth when I was enrolled in Clear Beliefs coach training that I recognized its profound impact. Trust, which should have been a foundation, became a shaky construct in my life, influencing how I approached vulnerability and intimacy. Can you recall a moment in childhood when something you trusted was untrue? How did it affect you? Have you noticed any lingering beliefs from that moment that impact your relationships today? What steps could you take to reframe or heal a broken sense of trust? The student and athlete, curiosity, learning, and competition. 2 years later, we moved to Birmingham, Michigan. Little Miss Extrovert blossomed, and I went around the block knocking on people's door saying, "Hi, I'm Debbie Gill from Delaware. Who are you?" Extroversion and curiosity were alive and well inside me for at least several years. Michigan became the backdrop for the emergence of the student and athlete archetypes. Full-time kindergarten brought a hunger for learning, a passion that marked the advent of the student archetype, and it hasn't quelled in 60 years. The student is open to absorbing new information, and I couldn't get enough of it. I completed all the homework assigned to me, even before going out to play. In reflection, because of my ADHD with impulsivity, the student archetype in me was often in the shadow. Needing to be validated as a bright little girl caused me to have a competitive streak, to get the highest grade, and talk when I should have been quiet. I was also in the light aspect of it, as I genuinely loved learning, asked questions, and expressed wonder about various topics. The athlete emerged here as well, and while I was too young to participate in sports, I loved seeing the Detroit Tigers play at Old Tiger Stadium. My dad taught my brother and me how to calculate and fill out a scorecard with RBIs and ERAs. The next day, I would look them up in the paper to ensure I was right, and I always was. The intertwining of the student, athlete, and addict archetypes created a fervent cocktail of passions within me. Reflecting on this period, I see how combining these created a dynamic force in my life. While they fueled my passion and drive, they also set the stage for struggles with self-worth tied to achievement. If I didn't excel, I felt like I wasn't enough. It would take years to unlearn the belief that my value depended solely on success and perfection. Can you recall a time in your childhood when you felt excited and driven by the joy of learning or discovery? Did competition motivate you, or did it create pressure to prove yourself? How has the need for validation shaped your approach to challenges in adulthood? Initiation and the age of 7. In all cultures worldwide, an initiation occurs around the age of 7. It's a turning point when a child discerns right from wrong. Up until that age, they are not fully conscious of those distinctions. The age of reason, as Carolyn Mace describes it, is when choices made during moments of initiation shape the path forward. She states, several factors occur starting when you do something wrong or tell your first lie. Initially, when an adult catches you and then asks, "Did you do this?" you hear a voice in your head saying, "Tell the truth." The decision you make will impact you for life. If you tell the truth, you'll relate it to shame and punishment, making it a painful experience. And if you lie, you'll identify lying with freedom and safety. Can you remember when you told your first lie? Whatever your parents' response was, it shaped how your life unfolded. The gasoline incident. I want to share a profound experience of telling my first lie at the age of 5, a moment that left an indelible mark on my beliefs. It was a pivotal and perilous moment involving gasoline, one that would foreshadow the destructive potential of the addict archetype. I asked my mother for a paper towel, and she asked why I wanted it. I said I wanted to wash the car off. I had just told my first lie. I intended to use the paper towel as a gripper to unscrew the cap on the gas can. I can still smell the sweet aroma that escaped. My heart raced, and chills ran through my little body. The battle between the addict's shadow and light aspects was on. The light, honesty, told me to stop and that my actions were wrong. At the same time, the shadow, or powerlessness, goaded me to huff more gasoline. The shadow was victorious, and I could not stop. All I could hear was more, 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 and I continued inhaling the noxious fumes for 15 minutes. I felt lightheaded and dizzy. In actuality, I was as intoxicated as if I had drunk alcohol, as it had the same effect. After wobbling out of the carport, I crawled up the 5 steps leading to the back door. Somehow, I managed to open it and found the house empty. Fear gripped me as I knew I was in trouble, both physically and with my parents. I saw they were outside doing yard work. As I pushed the front door open, I tripped and fell directly into thorny rose bushes. My parents rushed over, and since I reeked of gasoline, they yelled, "What did you do?" After a trip to the hospital for observation, they sat me down and explained the gravity of the situation. No one knew it was the addict's evolution from my birth, or the total devastation that awaited me in a short 7 years. Although my parents' sobering explanation was meant to teach me a lesson, little did I realize the magnitude of what was brewing beneath the surface. It was the quiet evolution of the addict, a shadow that would influence my life in ways I couldn't fathom at the time. Can you recall a moment from childhood when you faced a moral choice and its outcome stayed with you? Were there early signs of behaviors or patterns in your life that you now recognize as significant? How have experiences of early deceit or exploration shaped your view of trust and control in adulthood? Universal threads of growth connecting childhood patterns to healing. As I reflect on my journey, I realized that the experiences and patterns from my childhood weren't isolated events. They were part of a larger tapestry that has taken decades to weave. The addict, student, athlete, and even Little Miss Extrovert were all archetypes that played critical roles in shaping my early beliefs, behaviors, and sense of worth. But what's important to understand is that those early patterns didn't define me forever. They became the groundwork for transformation. In childhood, I saw life through a lens that was limited to my immediate surroundings, my family, neighborhood, and school. My desire for validation, success, and connection made sense within that world. I believed that excelling academically or being the most outgoing would earn me the approval and love I craved. But as I grew older, I learned that external validation wasn't a sustainable sense of self-worth. The quiet evolution of the addict archetype taught me that chasing more wasn't the answer. The more I sought external satisfaction, the more I drifted away from my true self. Healing didn't come overnight. It was a process of unlearning, confronting hidden beliefs, and reconnecting with the parts of myself I had abandoned in the pursuit of perfection and approval. Each step on this path was influenced by the universal threads of growth that we all experience in different ways. These universal themes, trust, belonging, fear of failure, and the search for self-worth, are part of the human condition. No matter how different our experiences may be on the surface, these threads connect us. It's why my story, though deeply personal, resonates with others who have faced addiction, trauma, or struggles with identity. We share the experience of navigating the shadows to find the light. Looking back, I now see how the challenges that once felt like obstacles were actually guiding me toward healing. The moments when I stumbled, whether it was the gasoline incident, the need for academic achievement, or the distrust stemming from childhood experiments, weren't failures. They were opportunities to learn, reflect, and grow. As you reflect on your own journey, I invite you to recognize the universal threads that have shaped your path. What patterns or experiences have influenced your beliefs about yourself? And how can you begin to reframe those stories, seeing them not as sources of pain, but as catalysts for growth and transformation? What recurring patterns from your past do you recognize as significant in shaping your identity today? Have you experienced moments when challenges or setbacks turned out to be essential for your personal growth? How can you reframe past struggles as opportunities that led you toward healing and self-discovery? As we wrap up this episode of From the Shadow to the Light, take a moment to reflect on what we've explored together. From understanding our childhood roles to uncovering hidden beliefs, we've seen how the past can influence our present and future. But it's not about being stuck in those old patterns. It's about recognizing them, understanding their impact, and using that knowledge as a tool for growth. The journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each step forward, no matter how small, is meaningful. You've already taken a decisive step by joining me today and allowing yourself time to reflect. Until next time, keep nurturing your inner light and embracing the beauty of the path you walk. May you find strength in your struggles and joy in your triumphs. And remember, even in the darkest moments, a spark of light is always waiting to be discovered. As we bid farewell to this chapter of our journey, let us carry forward the lessons learned, the wisdom gained, and the hope that burns brightly within us. For, in the end, it is not the destination that matters, but the journey itself, the journey of exploring our hearts and stepping into the light of our true potential. Thank you for joining me in today's From the Shadow to the Light podcast. As we prepare for our next episode, The Invisible Child, we'll journey through the emotional landscape of my childhood, exploring themes of invisibility, grief, and the masks we wear. And don't forget to join our community of support by clicking on the link in the show notes.